Hey, fourth grade. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. I've got another quick little project for you to try at home. We're going to kind of talk about and kind of review actually the two ideas that we've kind of reviewed before. One is positive negative space, which is just kind of a natural consequence anytime you draw something. And the other one is implied texture. How do you make something look bumpy? How do you make something look smooth, sticky, those kinds of words? How do you make that look on a two-dimensional piece of paper when drawing? Now we know we could do texture rubbings with crayon and different surfaces in the house or outside. It gives you different textures. One of the most common ways is to find a leaf, put it underneath a piece of paper, rub the leaf, and you can find all the textures on it. But how do you draw that too? And that's what we're going to kind of do today. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll see you back in just one bit. So I got myself a blank piece of paper, and all I'm going to do is to keep things very simple is I'm going to trace my hand. My hand is going to end up being my positive space on the paper. So I'm going to take a Sharpie, but you could take a pen, pencil, crayon, whatever you got at home. I'm just going to quickly trace my hand, because really the shape of my hand is not the most important part. It just gives us a space to work with. So there I've got my hand, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of break it up into different spaces, and I'm going to do it randomly. So I'm just going to kind of take a curved line here, break it up into a space here. Let's draw another curved line right down the middle. Maybe create a space for each finger. There we go. So I have all these different little spaces to work with to create a texture inside each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start at the bottom and then work my way up. So one texture I could use is something like slimy. So what I'm going to do is try to figure out a line that I could use to create an implied texture, so when people look at it, their brain reads it as a slimy type of texture or slimy line in this part of the hand. So I'm just using kind of a squiggly line that we've been using for years to create a slimy effect. Another one we could do is pointy, something just simple as that. So I'm going to start at the bottom and just going to use a real thin zigzag line. And bring the zigzags to a point. Again, so our brain reads it as if I were able to touch that, it would actually prick my finger or be pointy to feel. So I'm going to use a real thin zigzag line to create that effect. So I have another space here in the thumb. So let's do rough. So with rough, I can make a bunch of little bumpy lines. But I almost have to make them or keep them small, because when we think of rough, we think it's usually kind of like a small granular feel, almost like concrete or asphalt is rough. So our brain tells us that it's hard to touch, but it's also really, really bumpy, but in small bumps. Usually that's how we think about when we think about rough. So I got to keep these bumps pretty small to fill up the space. Another texture we can use for this next spot would be something more like smooth. And that one you could almost want to get away with a nice thin curved line. And again, it's about playing tricks with people's minds. You want the appearance of a smooth space or a smooth object. So we've got a few more spaces that we just need to fill in. So one of the first ones we can do with the fingers to kind of give the illusion of something that's soft. So something like fur on a rabbit or a cat. So we can use just kind of a curved line, not quite like smooth, but almost like if we took a microscope and zoomed in on what the fur on of a cat would actually look like to give the idea of soft. Just like a soft curve all going the same direction. The next one we could do is something to give the idea of something that's hard instead of just using simple lines like we've been doing, like squiggly and zigzag, but now we're actually going to start drawing something. We're going to start drawing images to kind of put them together to give the idea that something's hard, like bricks. So with bricks, we can do it one of two ways. I'm going to do both right here in this finger. I could just draw some some horizontal lines. And then I could just put a vertical line here and there to give the idea of bricks. Or if you want to challenge yourself a little bit, draw a rectangular brick with some rounded sides, just like you would see them on a brick wall. That one kind of gives the appearance of more of a concrete wall versus a brick wall. But again, it gives the idea that texture would be hard to touch. Another one would be almost like a bumpy, like a basketball. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw some of the curved lines of a basketball. Again, almost as if I zoomed in on a basketball. But then I just start filling with some dots. Again, to give the illusion, to give the idea, to trick the brain, that the surface of that basketball is bumpy to touch, which it is. But I don't want to fill it all with bumps. This almost kind of gives a shadow and light effect as well. So we got a couple more little spaces to go. For the next one, we could do something like a piece of wood. A nice, easy way to do that is to start with maybe with an oval, a misshapen oval. And draw another one around it. To kind of give the idea of a knot in the piece of wood. Then I'm going to draw a line and kind of go around it. And then just repeat that line all the way around the oval. And then do the same thing on the other side of the oval. Go around it this way. And again, that's giving the idea of texture with that last one. This little space right here is kind of a little tricky space, but I thought the idea of like a ripple effect in water to make something look like it's wetter. I can start with the oval this way, but then the oval is going to get bigger and bigger away from that initial one. But again, this is kind of a small, tricky space. We just want to fill it in. So we filled our hands with all sorts of different type of textures. How you break up your hand is completely up to you. You don't want as many spaces, don't break it up as much. If you want more spaces, you want more textures, then draw as many crisscrossing lines as you can to start it off with. Now, this is a clear indication, or a clear example, I should say, of positive space. Everything's going on inside the hand. And we got a lot of this negative space going on out here. Sometimes positive space, negative space don't work very well together, because if we look at this piece of paper, the outside of it looks so boring because there's nothing going on. There's a lot of solutions to that problem, but one simple one would be, for this project in particular, is take a pair of scissors and just cut out your positive space and get rid of your negative space. So like I said, one simple solution for this positive negative space issue is just to get rid of that negative space. Recycle your paper, and then you have an interesting piece of art of just your hand showing the different examples of what's called implied texture. So that's our video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Something a little bit different. Again, trying to keep in mind with these projects that they're going to be able to do stuff with around the house. I hope you guys are checking out the videos. If you do one, shoot me an email, upload it, share it with me. Let me see what you guys have been up to. I hope you're doing well, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take it easy. Bye.